Ladies and gentlemen, is the stock market broken? I have no idea, which is why I brought in Sami Abusad to let me know what the heck is going on. My name is Michael Camo. I'm director of content for T3 Live. And of course, we're bringing Sami in to help us break down the trend. I've heard some people say there is no trend, it's broken. And we have NFP tomorrow, CPI, PPI, FOMC, ABC, DEFG. The whole alphabet soup is coming soon. So we're bringing Sami in to let us know what's going on. So Sami, what do you think of this whole mess we call the stock market right now?
Exactly. It's a big mess right now because the short term turned bearish, but the long term is not quite the long. When I say a short term, I mean daily chart. When I say long term, I mean the weekly and the monthly are not so bearish. So it's hard. We're in between that area. Notice how am I projecting, Mike?
All right. Yep.
Okay. So notice how this is a Qs was doing a buy setup, looking higher, looking really pretty, and then failed. And now we're at the bottom of that red bar. So we take out these lows, we should be lower. We should be lower. So that's the Qs. If we look at the SPY, same concept, but it's even more bullish. And if you look at the larger time frame, my goodness, would you be bullish? Would you be bearish on this if you didn't know it was the SPY? Like if I told you, here's this chart and I'm considering turning bearish on it, would you tell me to be bearish on it? You probably would say, no, that looks bullish. It's going, the stock price is going from the bottom left corner of the chart to the upper right corner. That's exactly what you want to see before being bullish on something. And that's what we have in the SPY and the Qs, but the SPY is more bullish. So that's the thing. Weekly and monthly, especially the weekly, is still bullish. The daily, and on the SPY, the daily isn't all that bearish, but we do look a little bit lower. Again, especially when we look at the NASDAQ. This one looks a little bit lower. We'll see how we close today and whether or not we can take out the low from today's low and yesterday's low. I don't know which one is lower, but whether, if we take them out, then we're probably lower. So that's what's going on. It is a mess. It really is a mess. But if I were to simplify it, I would say short-term bearish, long-term still bullish. So it depends on your style. If you're long-term, you can still be bullish. If you're a short-term trader, you might want to be very cautious or turn a little bit bearish, especially if we take out today's and yesterday's low, whichever is lower. I haven't checked. It looks like yesterday's lower. Yesterday's low is lower.
Okay, so when the market is sort of in this in-between state, short-term bearish, long-term bullish, are you doing anything differently?
I want to say no, but I would be lying because sometimes, you get an opportunity that you don't get very often. And that's what I feel about Tesla right now. Should I be adding to it? Should I be, this is a great chart on the daily, the weekly, the monthly. Okay, the market is not great, but do I just let this one go, or do I, give it a shot? And if maybe I'm wrong about the market, maybe the market goes back up. But if I don't go after it and it ends up working out, then I'm going to be really mad at myself. So again, normally I would say, yeah, in this environment, you lay low until it's clear, until you have clarity. But it also depends on what ends up setting up for you.
Okay, so why don't we talk about Tesla? So Tesla is the number one stock in the Qs this month, even though it's only like three days. It's the number one tech name this month. So do you think it needs the market for it to rally?
Almost everything that's not speculative, that's not a really small cap or biotech or completely unrelated to the market, such as sometimes gold, oil, energy, utilities, real estate. Those are not very closely correlated to the market, and those may not need the market. But everything else, you have to assume at least that it will need the market, right? I mean, look at when the market turned bearish here this morning. Look what Tesla did. Boom. What a big sell off. So I'm not so sure that it would have dropped, not as much maybe, if it wasn't for the market. So yeah, I think Tesla does need the market.
Okay, well, let's switch gears to Bitcoin. So I was just looking at like a 1 year a daily chart on Bitcoin, and I don't know about you, but it just, I mean, if you go to like the daily,
Yep.
it looks kind of hideous. I don't know what you think, but this thing just looks. I'm long Bitcoin, mind you, but this does not look too pretty. So what do you think of this whole thing?
You're not the only one long Bitcoin and not liking what I'm seeing right now. You're right. It's in a downtrend. We have lower highs and lower lows so far. Three lower lows, three lower highs. It's extremely sloppy, and which means anything can happen. But at the moment, especially based on the weekly chart, this IBIT doesn't really do it justice. I'm looking at the Bitcoin chart right here, especially on the weekly chart. It doesn't look like we're going to be taking out that pivot anytime soon. I mean, this is becoming a strong downtrend even on the weekly chart. So yeah, it's not looking good. A lot of times, several times I thought we bottomed, like when we gapped down a few weeks ago. This was up on this trade on the IBIT. Honest to God, hand on heart, 44K up here on this trade from here to there. Unbelievable. And now, what can I say? I thought it was going to be a long-term hold. It's not looking too good. So I've never seen Bitcoin or almost any chart, any major chart, get this sloppy. I mean, it is so sloppy that it's hard to read. But yes, the weekly and the daily look lower. The monthly also could come in, but we're catching up. The moving average on the monthly is catching up to price. So more or less, the Bitcoin is going sideways on the monthly. Now on the daily and the weekly, it's moving a lot, as you can see, but more or less it's going sideways. Maybe slanted sideways base that's slanted downward. So hopefully eventually we'll break out. I'm sure of that, because also the 20 period moving average on this is the IBIT. It doesn't have as much history, but on Bitcoin, which I have here on my side machine, on my side monitors, the 20 MA on the monthly is like catching up. So it should eventually go higher, unless you tell me that the market, the stock market, has already topped out, like long term wise. If you say that the market is already topped out, we just don't know it yet, then I would say, yeah, maybe Bitcoin is lower than even in the long term. But barring a long-term top in the market, I think Bitcoin will be okay in the long run. But short-term, very, very, very sloppy.
Okay, so on the flip side, there's gold. So gold, we talked about gold a lot the last few weeks. It's up, GLD's up about 22% year to date, and like, I mean, do you think there's something to this? Like, we have Bitcoin and the market looking fairly sloppy, but then gold is just sort of having this like nice little smooth ramp higher.
I don't know that there is anything to it really. Like sometimes, gold, as you already know, Mike, it can be used as a defensive strategy to hedge positions, or to, if you think equities are going to drop, you go long, you rotate out of equities, out of the stock market, and into gold as a hedge. But I'm not really seeing it like so. I'm thinking more, the semis, especially Nvidia, went way up, and right now they're just correcting. They're correcting. They're having their moment of correction, basically, which happens to every stock, and so as a result, the Qs is looking very sloppy. The Nasdaq is looking very sloppy. But once the Nvidia stops correcting and starts to stabilize a little bit, I think the whole market will start to move up as well.
All right, that would. I'm also long Nvidia, so that would be nice. Somebody needs to do something about Nvidia, get it going up again. Okay, so I've seen in your newsletter, there's a lot of these sort of sleepy like value names that nobody talks about because Sammy trades a lot of these like wild small caps and biotech names and these speculative stocks that gap like 20, 30%. So I've seen you're in these names like AT&T and Ericsson and like in 3M is another one. And a lot of these have like pretty good looking charts. So how did you get into these names?
Remember when we did that panel discussion, whatever, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Those are the names that I mentioned: 3M, AT&T. Now, how did I get into these? It's because I like boring stocks. That's why. I'm kidding. It's because the monthly charts were looking really good. So the AT&T was breaking. I mean, how many years? That's 8 years. An 8-year-old downtrend was breaking it. How do I know? How did I know it was breaking it? We have the sell setup failure. I also played it 3 or 4 times last year on the way up on the daily chart, um, and eventually got out around 17. But now back in it. So the monthly, and then 3M. Here's 3M. I mean, look at that transition. Look how beautiful that is. I want to show you even a more beautiful chart. Ericsson. Look at that curling moving average. That's the 20-period moving average. Look at the 1, 2, 3 pattern, which you and I talk about a lot, right? Long right here, stop right here. I have 2 positions in the Ericsson, and it's in the $10 swing trader newsletter. It's in the strategic swing trader newsletter as well, because it's so pretty. It looks good to $9 basically. Really does look good to $9. So basically, I'm doing them not because I'm hedging. This is defensive AT&T or 3M. No, I'm doing them because I found really good monthly charts, and they've cooperated. They're working. Tiva is another one, by the way. Boring. It's not moving very much, but it's got a good monthly chart. Look at the monthly. Tiva, I wish I kept it because I had it at $9 the first time I bought it. It was an earnings play, and then I ended up maybe getting bored with it and got out of it. But I'm back in it now. But it's just, you see the monthly? It's the same pattern. If you want boring routine ideas that repeat the same pattern over and over again, come to me, baby.
Yeah, it is interesting because like I'm asking you if there is something to the fact that these sort of speculative things are crapping out and the boring stuff is I mean that's almost a reflection of the environment is that like because I know
Yeah.
Sammy scans like 10 million charts a day and there is something to these boring stocks are the ones.
Utilities. Take a look at PCG, for example. Yeah, PCG, which is PG&E. So you're right, out of the speculative and into the defensive. So you're right. It's basically, investors are feeling probably that they need to, that it's a risk-off environment. It's too risky right now. So they're reducing the risk, rotating money out of the semis. Look at the SOXL, got killed. SMH, right? Out of the semis, out of the volatile stocks, out of the tech stocks, and into the defensive. That's, I think, all there is to it, including gold. Probably the same reason. It's money rotation. That's what I think.
Okay, so do you think like the market is getting set to make and I feel like this is I'm going to use the most common conventional wisdom. This is probably the most boring take in the universe right now that things are going to get more volatile just because the alphabet soup is coming. FOMC, CPI, PPI, blah blah blah, CPI, blah 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 blah. Like, but from a technical perspective, does it feel like the market is getting ready to do something big?
I don't think so. I wish I could say yes, but I don't think so. The reason being is, QQA. Okay, QQQ. This is sloppy. Big moves happen from tight patterns or from shock value. You get a big gap, right? That ends the downtrend, a big gap that ends the uptrend. So shock value items or shock value events such as gaps set bottoms and tops. Also tight consolidations, tight patterns from which the market breaks up or down, those also end up producing follow through. But if you look at the cues, this is pretty sloppy. So I don't think we're actually going to, I don't think we're at the about to make a big move in any way, shape, or form. I think it's going to probably continue to be sloppy until price action tightens up in the market. Then maybe. But for now, I think expect more sloppiness, unfortunately.
All right. Well, Sammy, you've ruined my day because I've been on my knees praying for volatility, and you're telling me it's just going to be this. You know what the good thing about big moves is, even when you're wrong, at least you know. Now it's just we're kind of stuck in this in the mud, waiting for something to happen.
What can I tell you? Unfortunately, I'm here to read the charts as they are. Unfortunately, I want them to look a certain way and to be a certain way, but we can't
Unfortunately,
do that.
but you know what?
We need to stay objective and and reasonable.
That's what we always bring in Sammy to tell the truth, but I am not going to let him end this video on a down note. Sammy tried to bring us down, but I'm not going to let him do it. So if you want your day to get better right now, go to t3live.com/SA to get Sammy's ebook so you can find these boring, beautiful stocks that go up and don't drive you too crazy in this sloppy, nasty, ugly ass environment. So Sammy, always fun. We will be back. We actually packed a ton of info into 16 minutes, but we will be back next week with more. Again, guys, t3live.com/A. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, all that stuff. Sammy, thank you.
Thanks so much.